Good morning, everybody. This is Stacy Turner with our DMOpro Zoom. So glad you're here with us today. We were just talking about some of the boot camps that are happening all around the country. A lot of them happen in the summer. Some really great ones have been in Georgia at Blue Ridge, and I know there was San Antonio. I was at Branson. I know that there was one in Denver area. So really some great ones in the summertime. I just want to encourage you next year to make sure you get one of those on the calendar. And then a lot of times they're in February as well, which is another great month to get a pick me up. There's just something special about being with 300 people versus thousands at conference. And we do have conference coming up in September. So we definitely want to be inviting to that, not just planning on going, but inviting. And how you word that invitation can really make a difference. I sent out something that was not just like informational, but more of a invitation, like, hey, do you want to come with us? We're going to have a lot of fun. I would love for you to go. And I got a response from some team members that have not responded in forever. And I would have thought like they'll never come to conference again. And they actually were interested in coming. And some of my new people that I would say are not really like they're not thinking, oh, I want to do Juice Plus as a business, but they still take it. They like the product. They're hanging around. And some of them said they were interested. So you just never know where the conversation will go, even if they're not able to come this time. I had about 5 that said, I can't come this time, but I would like to come, to one at some point. So I was able to send them the dates of the next one to just keep the conversation going. And that's kind of what we're talking about today is sales conversation. So we've talked about systems, having a sales system and how important that is. And then last time we talked about the buyer readiness scale, which is sort of part of that system as well. So I talked with my son because this is our summer sales series. And I was just asking him some questions because I see the way that he does sales. And I've listened in on some of his calls when we've been there in Texas, just like at the door, just listening to him talk and just kind of some of the pointers that he's given me, just realizing it's very different. It is very different than how I would say we've been taught or kind of how we're more comfortable or naturally sharing and selling Juice Plus. And yeah, I think that there's some things that we can learn from him and just a different process. And so as I'm teaching you guys these systems and talking about sales, I start diving in more. And because our phone is listening to us, I start getting courses on Facebook about sales processes and things like that. So I've been looking into a couple of them, and I found a guy that really talks about how you have the sales conversation, the questions that you're asking, as well as the tone that you're using. And I remember some of what he was saying is some of the stuff that Colin had told me and that I heard him use in sales conversations. And so I was just intrigued. And this guy has a book. It was like $27. I bought it and then and it came with the digital aspect of it too. And so I was reading through it last night. I've been thinking about it, and then I went ahead and bought it last night. And it's really good. Like there's some good stuff in there that I'm excited to unpack for you guys over the next couple of weeks. I just dove in for about maybe 40 minutes last night reading and thinking it through. And then it was late and I was like having to reread the page, and I was like, okay, I think I'm done. I think I'm done for tonight. But I got my son on the phone. I was just talking with him. We were FaceTiming. My husband is there with him. And so I had Colin on the phone, and then I was taking notes on my computer. So my fingers, sounded like this as I was typing the notes that Colin was saying. And Jared finally said, he's like, what are you doing? What is that noise? And I was like, nothing. I'm taking notes. Like I'm listening to what he's saying. And he said, it sounds like one of those videos that's like a joke where people are just like texting. I'm like, I'm trying to type as fast as I can, but he's really talking quick. So I did take some really good notes, and I want to read to you guys. These are from Colin. So let me give you a little bit background from Colin's perspective. So Colin is 22, and when he was 18, he decided he wanted to, instead of going to college, he wanted to No, he was younger than that. He was 17 because he graduated at 17. He didn't want to go to college. He wanted to be an entrepreneur. And so he started looking at what he wanted to do, and he decided he was going to be do a social let's see, what is it? Social media agency. He was going to start a social media agency. So he found some people that do like coursework or coaching, and instead of investing in him going to college, we invested in him to take this course. And it was about $9,000 for him to go through this coursework, but he took it serious. Like they had, weekly calls, and Colin was on those calls. And he really saw this was a way that he was going to be able to generate income. And so he took it very serious. He did do well with it. It was during COVID. So things were different online then, right? Like everybody was online, and he made serious money. He moved to Texas. Then he ended up moving back to Albuquerque, New Mexico. He got married, and then now they live in Dallas, Texas. And over the last probably, I would say 6 to 8 months, we saw a difference in sort of like his drive, where he was on it before and he was making really good money. The money had slowed down a lot. Like he wasn't getting clients for the same things. And he had kind of gotten to where, because of COVID stuff, he could post in certain groups and post things, and he would just get people asking him. Facebook changed their algorithms and the way that they let people that have a business like him advertise. A lot of the same things I'm saying about his business, I feel is true for our business. And so I've just been watching this, right? So we help him move into a new house, him and his wife, and our daughter lives with him now. So I help them move, her move to them. She's renting a room from them, and we're renting a room from them. So if all of us pooled together, we could get a nicer house. And we opened the bookstore there that my daughter and his wife run. So that's kind of what we've been doing in the background of all the times we've been going. But in this, I've been listening to him because there's an office space. We have like 4 office spaces in this warehouse, and he has one of them. So I was there working for the bookstore, but I would get to hear some of his sales conversations. And my goodness, guys, he started doing a new, like his income had really dropped significantly. And he was doing a new program where he was trying to help companies that are pest control companies start advertising on social media. Okay, so he's running his own ads. So he's paying to get ads online. And so that money is just like adding up every day. You have to pay those ads, right? And so he's seeing that. He's seeing this new rent, payment that he has. Just a lot. I could tell the pressure was really building with him. And I was listening to these sales calls. And I mean, he also was hired commission only for another company that was doing landscaping. So they were sending him leads. He was getting leads for his own company, and he was having to make all of these sales calls. Well, they weren't going well. And some of it was he wasn't getting good leads, so they had to change the way that their ads went out. But a lot of times it was hard. Like he was doing, and he still is, call after call after call after call all day. Now, these are high ticket calls, right? It's a $5,000 commitment to work with him for a 3-month time period, and then they can continue on. So that's like, when we talk about buyer readiness scale, and we're talking about more expensive or less expensive, and we think Juice Plus is expensive or high commitment at $80 a month, we're talking $5,000 packages that he's, selling to these people. So he has to know his information. But it was very interesting to hear him doing these, to where I was like, I want to be a part of this. Like, let me be part of your sales team. What if I want to learn kind of what you're learning? So the sales calls were not going well. And so he hired a sales coach to help him through it. Colin is very good about, if something's not working, what else do I need to learn? And he will invest in his, coaching from somebody else. Like he's heavily invested at times of, we're talking $1,200 a month for coaching from somebody that I would be like, I'm not paying $1,200 a month. But like he has this real desire to learn, and he knows, like, if I'm not learning, then I'm not going to move forward. So for those of you that just joined in, we're talking about my son and his social media agency that he has. And so I've seen this struggle that he's had recently of getting sales. And one morning, I mean, he was just down at the breakfast table. We were all eating before we went, and he was just like at the table, his head was down. And I said, how'd the calls go yesterday? And he was like, horrible. They're all horrible. It's all going horrible. And I was like, oh, Colin, I'm sorry. Like, just, you're doing great. Like, just keep learning, keep going. I didn't want to like give him too much of a pep talk because he did not want to hear it. But it was basically like, I'll just send him messages like, I believe in you. You know what you're doing. And I'll send him some, audio that I listen to, a podcast or something, and he'll share things back with me. And he's really been plugging into connecting with my husband, his dad, on the phone every day. And I'll tell him, call Jared, I think you need to call Colin. Like he's super down. And he's like, yeah, I talked with him, a couple of hours ago. And just like trying to feed into like the good man that we know he is. And he's a smart guy. I mean, he's young, he's 22, but he just needs that. So he's getting coaching, on sales, and he's plugged into a support system, even if it's just us, and his wife is great too, where we're encouraging him. So I was talking with him yesterday, and he has 8 clients booked. And I had asked him, how many do you need to like pay off your debt for the business ad expenses and like for you guys to live? And he said, I want at least 12 clients. So that was at the beginning of like mid-June. And so he has 8 clients. But to tell you guys how many people he's having to go through to find those 8 that are willing, I mean, it's work. That boy is working, and I see that. And he's got calls today, he said, from 9 till 9, and he's willing to put in the time. So I'm learning a ton from him. Nancy said he's learned from me, and he has, but I've been learning from him, like how I'm not working that hard, right? And he's working it, and he had a couple of interviews for some positions to actually work for a coaching agency where he would coach others. So I tapped into him for us yesterday. I thought, I wonder if he can give me some inspiration for this call. And I would like to just know, like, what does he have to say about sales? Because it is very different than what we do. So he knows sort of how I do things. I mean, he's been around for years, right? And watched the process, but it is different. And it was very different from what I was learning from this, guy that I bought this sales book from. And so I just want to read to you some of what Colin said, and we'll kind of unpack it. But I really, as I'm diving into what I'm learning from this other guy in sales, in like sales conversations, that's really what we're going to lean into the next couple weeks as I lean in and learn it. And I have a booth this week at a county fair where I'll be sharing Juice Plus and sourdough classes and some other things. So I'm going to have a chance to practice this new approach like over and over again. So I'm curious to see how it goes and if I can see a difference in how these sales conversations go. And so here's some of the things he said. As salespeople, we are helping people make a decision, and we're helping them sell themselves on the benefits. Okay, so they need to identify their own. I'll talk now like health because he was talking for his business, but we need to identify their own health issues and why they want to be healthy. Help them identify the pain of not changing. And instead of telling the answer, ask a question that helps state their highest interest or concern. What is it that you're looking for that's different? Some examples of, I want to share with you the example I had with, okay, so I think I shared this with you guys. My daughter-in-law's some family member somehow, she calls me, I'm on speakerphone, and she says, Cindy wants to talk to you about Juice Plus. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm on speakerphone, like their whole family can hear me. And she says, I take Balance of Nature. What's the difference between Juice Plus and Balance of Nature? Now, Colin was in the room. He was listening to it. I don't know Cindy. I've never met her. I have no idea. So I went into how Juice Plus is different. So I know Balance of Nature is a powder. I mean, no, she takes Athletic Greens. That's what it was. I know athletic greens is a powder, were encapsulated. I went into details about like how Juice Plus is processed or made. I went into, I shared some of our story, but Colin brought that conversation back up because as I followed up with this gal, she said, thanks, but no thanks. I'm going to stick with what I'm taking because it has probiotics in it. And I was like, what? Like, where did probiotics come into this conversation? Like, it never came in. So I realized I didn't ask questions to find out what her need was. Why is she interested in probiotics? Now, I did try to do that through the text message, but she never answered. She said she was done out of the conversation. It'll have to be if I ever have a chance to talk in person, I think. But like, I didn't ask. I just answered what was the difference between them. And so Colin said, I wouldn't have answered what the difference was. I would have asked another question to find out what she wanted to know what the difference was. Like, what was she looking for in the difference between them? And I was like, looking back, I can see that. Like, she's willing to invest in a product that is more expensive, that is not the same quality that we have with Juice Plus, because she feels it's the probiotics in it that somehow helps her digestion. I didn't know she had digestive issues. I didn't know that's what we were talking. I thought we were talking simplicity of a delivery system of plant nutrition. Do you see the difference? So I answered how Juice Plus was a superior delivery system of plant powders. That's not what she was looking for. So I missed the mark on that one by not asking questions. So he was saying, sales conversation shouldn't be features and benefits of Juice Plus. You want to find out what's going on with their health and why is that a problem. So ask questions to lean in and listen, and then just like a friend would. And so in this sales conversation book that I was just looking at, one of the things he says is to say, oh, yeah, I can see how that would be. So actually putting pauses of saying and ah and oh, like, tell me more about that. And your tone of the conversation changes from a presentation, which I totally went to a Juice Plus spiel on that call, versus conversational and finding questions. And so figure out what they want their health to look like, and then asking questions. If you could change that, would you? What would that look like to you? What would you do with more energy if you had it? Like, I want to play, be able to play with my grandkids and be able to get up and off the floor without being in pain. Lean into that. Like, how would that change your life if you could do that? Does that give you peace of mind? Like, really getting them to dig into the specifics of those, and then you share Juice Plus to those specifics. So if somebody says, I want more, I would just like to have better energy, I can say, Juice Plus will give you better energy. I had better energy when I took Juice Plus. Like, this is the solution. You just told me your problem. Here's the solution. Let's get you started. Where maybe that works with some people, probably not, right? There are key things that we can say and probably are saying that are sort of a sales trigger in people's minds that make them back off or push back. And I want to learn what those are. And so I'm committed to learning that for myself, and then transferring that information to you guys over the next couple of weeks of the summer. But he said, if you're telling a story, like, you want to tell a story that now relates to that situation. If you've not experienced that, then use somebody else's story, but then you share their experience in a way that also fix that same problem. So yeah, John, I know this guy, John, he's been taking Juice Plus for about a year. And when I was talking to him, he had a lot of constipation issues. He had a lot of digestive issues. He had a lot of heartburn and just bubbly, gurgly stomach. He was really struggling with that. So it was affecting his quality of life. He was afraid to go out into public. His stomach was so loud, his coworkers were asking him what's going on. He, didn't have energy because he wasn't getting nutrients. I don't know, right? Like, I'm just making this story up in my head. But had I gone into a story like that of a real experience of somebody, and I knew that digestive issues were her problem, and then I shared a story that shared how that guy's problem was helped, and I knew what she was looking for, the end result of not being in pain, not having to take laxatives, whatever it was, connected that back. That would have been very meaningful to her. She would have seen, I had the problem, he had the problem, he took Juice Plus, that problem was solved, so Juice Plus could solve my problem, right? Versus me just telling her the details and the facts of what Juice Plus is. So he said, if your story doesn't relate, then tell somebody else's story and show how it relates to that. And then he said, after the exchange of stories, ask for the sale. And I was like, no, we have to send them videos and they have to watch 3 videos first. We can't tell them, like, we can't ask for the sale. And he said, yes, you can. If it's connected, they have made that connection, then you just ask for the sale. So do you see that this would solve XYZ for you? And I'd love to help you get started. And when they give you a stalling answer, lean in with more questions to help overcome that objection. So he said something, use questions like this. I'm just curious, how do you feel about the product itself? And let them talk. How do you feel about John's story? When you heard John's story, can you relate to that? Do you think it could help you too? Like it helped John. Do you see how it could help you too? Are you confident that if you took Juice Plus, that it would help you reach that goal of not being in pain, of being able to get off the floor, whatever it is, right? So you're trying to ask questions, he said, that's going to build certainty with the product of like getting it. It's like their thought process too. Like, I do see that would be. So you're helping them say it out loud. We're wanting them to convince themselves versus us trying to convince them. And so, you're building that certainty. And then he said, if they're delaying, say, so I'm just curious, why would you want to delay that decision of purchasing? Like, why would you want to delay not getting, being pain-free or whatever? Now, guys, he's asking these questions and my heart starts like speeding up and I'm like, I can't ask that. Like, what? There's no way. Like, that is so outside of like how we dance around everything, but I'm open to learning and I'm open to trying things new, especially this week. I'm never going to see a lot of these people again as they come through, but like trying to find out what's keeping them from moving forward. So he said, if somebody asks a question, it's usually not even what they're asking. I think I got this out of the book. So you want to find their true objection. Colin was saying too, like if they say, oh no, I could never spend that much money, just say, yeah, that's totally fine. And then just keep going. Or yeah, that's cool. No pressure. Yeah, that's fine. I understand that. And then just keep going. So you're not telling them, yes, you can afford that. You have a Starbucks cup in your hand. What are you talking about? You can't afford that. That's sometimes what I want to say. But he said, just curious, with all that we discussed, do you feel like taking Juice Plus would help you reach that goal of not being in pain and being able to enjoy your grandkids more? If they say yes, ask them what makes them confident that that's a good fit. Like, that's a deeper question, right? So if they say, I do feel like that would be, okay, why do you feel like, what makes you confident? Why do you feel that this would be a solution for you? And then again, asking, why would you want to delay that decision? And then he would say things like, well, just help me understand, because I'm just kind of confused with your answer there, or, of what you just said, because you said you are confident, but yet like you're delaying it. I'm just not understanding. So he uses pauses in his tonality as he's talking to make it more conversational. And I've heard him do that as well as reading it in this training. So they will tell you their real objection eventually. Like if you say that, like, I'm just confused because you said you are confident, but you're delaying it. There's no pressure on my end. I'm not understanding why you would delay that decision then. And then they'll give you the real answer. So it may be like, I don't have the finances for that. Like, I don't have the money to be put to spend on that this month. And then you say, oh, okay, yeah, I got you. I understand that. And then, or if they have some other question, you can say, like, I'm here. Maybe, I can help you answer that question since I'm here, or find, what that concern is for you. We could discuss that because we're here together versus, well, let me send you a video and then now you're chasing the follow-up afterwards, right? So if they're there in conversation with you, trying to really get to that true objection. So if you're he says pitching the highest price product, and I know we all went through ditch the pitch, so we're like, you can't say that word, but like offering them the highest product first, price point, because we know the more produce they get in their body, then the better results that they're going to get, and the faster, because we understand micro and macronutrients, they need both of those. So if the objection is finances, let's just say it's an $80, which is our trio. He said to ask, okay, if a friend gave you $80 a month and you could just spend it on whatever you wanted, like no strings attached, you get to choose. And so you have $80 for sure coming into your bank account for the next, year. Would you choose to spend it on Juice Plus? Would you invest in Juice Plus if that money was there? If they say no, they're then say, okay, so I'm curious why, because you said you felt like you were confident it would solve the problem. Like, what's that disconnect? I don't think it's finances. Then I'm just wondering, like, what is it? And so you can get to the real objection if they say, yeah, I absolutely would, but I just don't have $80. Now I could talk about the duo and the free product for the child, right? So now I can back down the price if need to a lesser price, and then build certainty into that you are going, you're going to still get results from this. The research on these studies were done with the duo only. I do recommend the berries, but we can always add those later in as you have a good result. I think you're going to be able, to find a way to fit the others in your budget. And so now you're just offering a new package, and then you ask for the sale again to help them get started. So these are some quotes that I wrote down. Whenever a prospect comes to their own conclusion, not only will they accept them, they will fight for them. They will find a way to put it in their budget. Did you guys do that? I'm thinking we did. I had a bunch of objections, but once I really got it and I wanted Juice Plus and Jarrett said, yeah, let's do this, I was like, all right, we got to find a way to make this happen. We shifted our budget from spending money on soda if we went out to dinner, or even buying it to bring into our house, to not buying those and then putting the money towards Juice Plus. Like, I found a way. I fought the budget, if you will. It was more my mindset than anything. But they will fight for that. So you have to sell to the real problem that your questioning ability and tonality helps them find. So it's problems they might not even realize they have, even, right? So and you don't know it necessarily until we ask the questions that go deeper. If you tell your prospects your solution outright, you are the one who owns the problem and the solution, not your prospect. Can you guys see that in my conversation with Cindy? It's exactly what I did. I told her the solution outright. Oh, it's capsulated produce. It's processed this way. The research says this. Like, I told her the solution, and I owned the problem and the solution. She did not. She didn't connect all the things I said back to her problem because I never found out what that problem was. So the result is that your potential customer is just less attached to it. I've been taking this and it's been working for me, so I'm going to stick with that. She was not attached to the information that I shared with her because it didn't attach to her problem. So telling is far less persuasive. On the other hand, when you ask questions, they're immersed in the process and they will start to own their own problems along with the need to solve that problem. So later in the sales conversation, after you've listened, that's when you can suggest that you might know a solution that could take care of their problem or help them get to where they want to go. So this was something he talked about if they're giving you like a stalling question, like I did. I told her, okay, well, I told Sharon, let me talk to my husband. I just, want to clear this with him. And then he said no at first. So when she called back in, I was like, oh, my husband said no. Sorry about it. And I just deferred easily to him because I just didn't feel confident in making that decision myself. And so it was easier to blame him, who's never even heard the information. Like, that's not fair, right? So Sharon could have been like, oh, okay. But she asked, like, what's his objection? Well, he doesn't want to invest in vitamins. He says they don't work. And she was like, he's right, they don't. And that's why he will love this. Can I send you guys a video to watch? So that's how that process went, right? But if they say, I need to ask my husband, I thought this was a great question. How does your husband feel about you investing in your health? Oh, man, right? Like that changes things. If you're like, if you have to say out loud, you know what? He really hates it. Anytime that I want to get healthy, he tells me, you are overweight and you'll stay overweight and unhealthy for the rest of your life, and you're not going to spend on money on getting healthy. Like if you had to say that out loud, I think that's the bigger problem. Like I think that would help identify a much deeper problem than that. But I don't think if they're at a place where they're asking their spouse about of like what they can spend money on, they're probably not at that place in a relationship anyway. But if she had asked me that, I would have been like, I think he's okay with me investing in my health. Like he would want me to be healthier. And so just thinking that question out loud, most people would say, he wants me to be healthy. So I thought that was a great question. And then if they still talking about the finances, you could say, okay, what type of funds do you have or have access to that you can use to invest in your health? So now I'm getting them thinking. I can tell them my solution of shifting from sodas and to water, but they have to think about that. Like, where in their budget could they shift things? What money do they have access to that they could? Are they spending it somewhere else that they could, move it to investing in Juice Plus? So I got a ton out of this. I don't know if you guys did, but I just want to keep diving into this because I do think that we get highly educated on the product and we're excited about the prospect of building business, but there's training missing on how do we have effective conversations. And like it or not, sales is part of our business. It is. And we are sharing and we can dance all around it and we can say, we don't sell Juice Plus, we share it. I don't sell it in that they're giving me money and I'm exchanging product, but it is a sales conversation. And the better we can be at those conversations, the better results we get, not just in the product, selling the product itself and number of customers, but in the results that they get, in knowing that what we're putting our time and effort into is of value to others and like pays us back for the time that we're putting into it. And then also as we're talking team, this is going to transfer to how we're asking questions in conversations in attracting people into our business as well. Like if they're interested, what questions do we ask them to help them relate that this could be a solution to the financial issues, the community issues, the, finding purpose, concerns that they have. So it's going to go both ways. The better and more effective we can be at conversations, it's what we get paid for. We get paid to talk to people, so let's get better at it. So I'm hoping we can take the sleaze out of sales and lean into learning to be better at sales conversations so that we get better results, because I think that's what we're all after. I know I am. I love learning. I'm hoping you guys find value in this too. As you learn things, share it with us in our Voxer chat. We want to hear from you, but I'm going to stop the recording, but I will open it up for questions or suggestions.